We're about ready to get started. So good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Jessica, and I work here at the Great River Road Visitor and Learning Center at Freedom Park. We're excited that you're all here. Sorry I'm distracted. People just landed in the tree out there. Yeah, good timing. We have a beautiful view out these windows. Sorry to those of you, this eagle is probably going to take off, so if you watch, it might go right across the window, the viewing area. How many of you have been here to Freedom Park before, hopefully, right? This is your park if you live in and around the area. So please come back frequently and watch the seasons change, because you can really see some amazing things. And we are lucky to have eagles here all year long. And actually, believe it or not, does anybody know one of the better months to watch eagles around here? I had to guess. What would you say the best month to watch eagles is? What do you think?
Spring.
Spring, that's a very good guess. What do you think?
Summer.
Summer's a good season too. What about a specific month? What's your guess? Yeah, it's a good season.
October.
October's a good month. Getting closer. What's that? There you go. February gets to be a really good month to watch eagles, because when the weather gets very cold and the river is still open, we see lots more eagles concentrated by the river. So very good. So come back all year long. Well, I want to say a good thank you to the Prescott Days Committee for planning a wonderful Prescott Days. Did it just fly by?
Yeah, it went down.
Oh, got it. Very good. Well, you'll have to look again the next time you come to Freedom Park. Hopefully you'll see an eagle then. The Prescott Days Committee has put together a phenomenal weekend of events for you. So if you don't have your schedule of events yet, please make sure you pick it up. I have a few extra copies, maybe a dozen copies or so. I want to say thank you to them for allowing us to bring this fantastic program from the Minnesota Zoo. We have Alex here, and for, in general, our great program support from the Nelson Family Foundation, the Gertrude Shealy Foundation, and also the Prescott Foundation that helps us to bring these wonderful programs here. So I'll turn it over to Alex.
Thanks.
And again, thank you, Alex, for joining us.
Thanks for having us. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Alex. I'm from the Minnesota Zoo. And so tonight, with our program that they have picked for topic, we're going to do a tropical rainforest one. So a little bit different even at your visitor nature center, your area. So we're going to kind of start with animals and build our way up through a rainforest and talk about animals that live in the different layers of there. Because the theme for your festival is like in a Hawaii theme, right? So better way to describe it than through like the rainforest, and we can go to Hawaii. So I have animals from actually all around the world that we're going to meet today, and our last one is actually one that you can find right here, but can be found on every continent in the world except for Antarctica. So I'll let you think about that one for a little bit, and we're going to get started. So I do have real live animals with me, so they can see, they can hear, they can smell the cool smells here. They're used to coming out. They're comfortable with it. But if you guys are great helpers, which I know you will be, that means I need you sitting on your seats once you find a spot. Eyes forward, voices off. Is that still fun? Yeah. Okay. Well, you can expect from me, it's my job to keep you safe. So we're going to be really close. You can see I'm right in your face, right here. But don't worry about anything coming out to you. I'll either hold on to it or use this table right here, and I'll be able to kind of walk across the front with some of those. Sound good? If you have questions, I love questions. But first I'll bring out each animal and we'll talk about them, and hopefully I'll answer a lot of questions, and then after that, you can ask me questions. Remember, the program's for everybody here, so not just kid questions, but adult questions too. Who knows, you'll probably stump me because I don't claim to be an expert either. I work with like 35 species of animals and over 70 individuals, so I can't specialize in just one. But anyways, let's get started with that rainforest, right? That's our fun theme, you know, tropical rainforest. We're just ending in summer, but a tropical rainforest is summer all year long. So what are the things that make a tropical rainforest a tropical rainforest? Who has some ideas? Raise your hand. I like input. Way back there. Me? Yeah. What makes it tropical? Yes, lots of rain. And if you were to measure it out, how much rain they get in a year, we probably get about maybe 3 feet here a year. That's about from the floor up to here on me, right? That's how much rain we get all year. If you're a rainforest, you probably feet about 30 feet. That would be like from here, like if I were like standing here and there was a school bus in here. That'd be the length of a school bus. So when you said rain, you're absolutely right. It's a lot of rain that makes a rainforest. What else makes a rainforest a rainforest? Any other ideas? Yeah.
Trees.
Lots of trees. You can see we have lots of trees here in Minnesota, but think of many more trees in Wisconsin, along there, many more trees in the tropical rainforest and lots of different kinds. Do you think it's hot or cold? What do you think? Hot. There is no winter, fall, or spring. It's summer every day. Even at nighttime, it's probably like 86 degrees in a rainforest, okay? And then that other thing I'm thinking for is humidity. Do you know what I'm talking about? How the air's kind of been sticky lately and we really feel it. It's not been super hot, but it feels really thick, like you can cut the air. That's the humidity. That's what a rainforest actually feels like, okay? So where do you think those rainforests are located in the world? If you had to look at a globe. Yeah. What's that imaginary line that goes around the center of the globe? Starts with an E.
Equator.
Yeah. An equator, where the equator is. That's where you'll find rainforests. You know, sometimes when I think of tropical rainforests, I just think of the big Amazon rainforest in South America. But they're throughout the world, wherever you can find that equator. So when you get a chance, maybe some of you that have just gotten back into school, take a look at a globe. Find your finger, find that equator, and circle around. Anywhere around that equator is where you'll find tropical rainforests. And that's where we're going to meet these critters tonight. Now the first animal I have is actually my smallest, but it'll get bigger from here, okay? But these animals have the biggest job in the rainforest of Madagascar. They are our rainforest builders. And when I think of a rainforest, I think of 4 layers. Kind of like, you know, you have layers on a cake, right? So our bottom layer that builds the rest of it is our forest floor. So that's layer number 1, right? And there's animals that spend most of their time on that forest floor, and I have a couple with me that do that. Now, they don't bite, jump, sting, or fly, and I'll probably just hold on to one right now, and I'll leave the other one up on the table because they can be quick, okay? But I have with me a Madagascar hissing cockroach, and so we're going to look at the back side of it right now. And I really do think of these as like a forest builder. You know, these guys are tiny, right? Remember, it doesn't bite, jump, sting, or fly, and it is alive. It's just kind of calm right now and sitting on my hand, but it's not going to go anywhere. It might walk with its amazing 6 legs, but that's about it. Now these guys live on that forest floor. So think about it for a second. What does a forest floor look like in a rainforest? It's very dark. You know, our forest floors here in Wisconsin, if you walk in them, you find leaves, it crunches, or sticks. But because of nature's recyclers like this, that live in huge groups, you know, one group could be like a colony of 100 or 200 of them, they're able to kind of clean up that floor. You know, nature has garbage, right? Not like pot cans or candy wrappers, but I'm talking about like the food that falls from the layers above. Leaves, okay, rotting flowers or fruits. These guys, what their job to do is to actually eat that. So when it falls to the floor, they actually go around and they kind of clean it up. They chew it up with their mouth parts, and eventually it goes, and then, you got it now, you know what I'm talking about, right? And so that's why I call these guys recyclers, because they're cleaning up that waste on the nature's floor, even dead things. Okay, and so they're cleaning it up. So that actually the forest floor where they live is very much just soil. But the good news about having these rainforest recyclers like the roaches is that they're like putting vitamins back into the ground. Does anybody like to garden here? Yeah, right? So a lot of us like to use fertilizers, and sometimes we want to use natural fertilizers. Well, them eating those plants with all those good vitamins and minerals in there help to get the plants to grow in the rainforest. So without these guys, you wouldn't have all those trees that you said, yeah, that's what makes rainforest, right? And all the cool animals that live there. So, you know, these happen to do that job in Madagascar, but roaches or millipedes, those kind of creepy crawly animals around the world, they do that job as that rainforest recycle, or to build up that rainforest, to make those homes for those cool animals that you think of, like butterflies, bats, lemurs, snakes, right? All that kind of cool stuff, because of these guys right there, okay? So they spend that time there, and that's why they are the color that they are. I'll turn them around, and now you can kind of see the head. Like I said, bear in mind with me, they are the smallest, but biggest job when it comes to that rainforest. So they kind of remind me of like a grasshopper type head. You can tell where the head is because they have 2 things coming out. Do you guys know what those are? Antenna. And those antenna help them feel, because you know where they live, it's dark. The layers above, remember we're on the floor layer. The layers above block out all that light. So it's like nighttime all the time for a cockroach that lives in the rainforest. So what good are eyes if you can't really see? It's dark all the time. So they're actually using those antennae to feel and taste their way. Just like if you get up at night, you're like, oh, okay, there it is. All right, I'm not going to bump into things. And that's how they're able to find their way around, using those antennae that are very important. You'll see those 6 cool legs there underneath. And that's basically it, okay? The back here, okay, where I'm pointing the lighter kind of orangish brown color, is actually the abdomen. And you have an abdomen too, right? Adults, we know where ours is, but kids, our abdomen is right here. And that's actually where these guys hiss from. So you're like, Madagascar, hissing cockroaches, right? Well, they hiss right here out of their abdomen, so they can't even hiss out of their mouth, right? It's not possible for them. And they hiss to sound like what animal? Yeah, right? Because if you're walking along in the forest and all of a sudden you walk this way and you heard a hissing sound, would you keep going that way? Probably not a good choice, right? Hissing is a warning sound. So if you imagine these guys live in a group of like 100 or 200 of them together, and they all hiss, or even just a few of them, that can be kind of startling. So that's good protection for these little animals that, remember, don't bite, jump, sting, or fly. Okay. All right, I've been talking a lot so far about our first animal in that rainforest layer, the Madagascar hissing cockroach. What would you like to ask me that I might have left out about this one? This is about as big as they get, so they really are giants compared to some of the roaches we find here. They don't think of them pests in the rainforest because that's their home, that's where they live. We think of ours here as a little bit of pests because they're getting to places we don't always want them. Yeah.
How long do they live?
You know, roughly around like 2 to 5 years. So they grow pretty quickly, right? But that's also why they can get bigger than a lot of our insects that we have here, is because they have a longer lifespan. Remember, they don't have to worry about winter and stuff like that. So they can live longer and get bigger. Yeah, that's a long-lived insect. Great question. Any other questions about our Madagascar hissing cockroach? You're wondering, why is this one not hissing? Well, it's kind of used to being handled, so it doesn't feel it needs to protect itself. Once in a while, I'll hear them hiss. But otherwise, and it kind of did a little bit when I changed it over. If you're over here, you might have heard a slight hissing sound. So they do that. All right, well, maybe I can get a couple. I can't have everybody, but maybe a couple of brave people that would want to feel the Madagascar hissing cockroach. So this doesn't scare you or freak you out. All right, way back there, okay, in the blue, right here, okay, and the pink right there, the flowers. Okay, I think I have like 4. Let's go with my 4 right now. Yep, here we go. 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 5. Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's kind of go in the front here in the middle so everybody can see how brave you are. You guys ready? Okay, so you can touch the Madagascar hissing cockroach. Remember, on its back. You know, it feels a lot like your fingernails because it's made out of the same stuff as your fingernails. So use your 2 fingers, and you can feel it right here. What do you think? It's not slimy, is it? No. What do you think? Yeah? Is it smooth or bumpy? Oh, hold on, you guys can stay up here for a second. We're going to try a little experiment. All right? And I'm going to come back here. Okay? Want to try? Smooth or bumpy? Bumpy, okay. Smooth. Wet or dry? Wet. Might be a little bit because it was in some moss. But these guys don't make a slime, so they're quite dry. Good job, guys. Thanks for coming up. When we're all done, we'll have them wash your hands with soap and water. Always a good idea when you're with animals. So thanks for coming up. Was it scary? No, not scary. So good thing, right? Okay, good job. All right, well, maybe I have somebody even braver. Do I have an adult that would want to feel it and maybe hold it? All right, we have a winner member here. Come on up. Come on up. Hi, thanks for volunteering. What's your name? Hi, Chris. So if you want, you can feel it right here on the back side. And that's really just its outer body coverage, just like your nails. And then I'll have you make a bowl with your hands. And it will kind of tickle a little bit. But again, it doesn't bite, jump, stare. Look at that. Chris is holding it. Do you want to turn your hand? Yeah, give my hand. There you go. And did you notice the spikes on the legs when I was walking around with it? Do those spikes hurt at all? No. I mean, it really has spiky legs, but not to pierce anything with. It really allows them to be great climbers. Some animals spend their whole life on the forest floor. This one spends the most of its time on the forest floor because it gets all of its food, water, shelter, and space there. But they are able to climb straight up into the trees, which is why the one that I have on the table here, even though it's not moving today, there is a lid because they're excellent climbers because of those spikes on their legs. Thanks a lot, Chris. That was fantastic. All right. And now that we got it all, we'll kind of move it a little bit. You guys wave goodbye. To our rainforest builder, the Madagascar hissing cockroach. All right, so we're going to move to layer number 2. Layer number 2 is still pretty dark. The air is pretty calm because, again, those layers above are blocking out all that wind movement. So that's why I'm talking about where it feels really thick and humid still, okay? And so we're going to go into where we get to like the ferns that are starting to grow up. You know, some of the leaves on the plants can be as big as half of this table here because they're just trying to take that little bit of light that's peeking through from the rainforest above and starting to grow. So they can have really big leaves, and this area is called the understory. It's also where the trunks of the trees are too. And that's where you'll find this animal. This animal is not a good climber, so it moves around in the understory. But this one actually is not in Madagascar. It's in South America. And this one is from the area of Brazil, where their Olympics just were, right? And so she was rolled up in a ball right now. What is she? She made a little nest for herself out of wood chips. So she opens up and you see that stuff fall out. No worries. It's just her bedding. Okay? So does anybody know what this is? Yeah, armadillo. Yeah. So hold up 3 fingers for me. Because she is a 3-banded armadillo. 1, 2, and 3. These are the 3 bands that stretch across here. Kind of like band-aids, right? And they allow her to open and close her body up like this. And so right now she was resting because armadillos like to sleep a lot during the day. And so she kind of rolled up in that ball. She doesn't roll around like a ball to go from one place to the other. In fact, in here she has 4 legs that are kind of tucked in right now. But you can't see them because she's doing what she does when she sleeps. Or if something tries to come after her, she'll roll up, boom, she'll slam shut like a trap, right? And she'll close herself in there. So what you're looking at right now is her forehead back here. Just like you have a forehead. Where's your forehead? Right? Yeah. And she just has extra bones, like armor on there. And then here's her tail. Where's your tail? Gotcha. You got me. Yeah, we have a tail bone, but they fit together just like a puzzle piece, right? And so when she's really closed up tight, if something were trying to get after her, you can't see her soft tummy, those 4 legs. She has a nose, a mouth, eyes, and really large ears. But they're all protected by these bony plates called armor. You know, she's not a reptile. I know she might look like a reptile, but she does have, and you can see it sticking out a little bit, here. So just like us, she's a mammal. She just uses this armor as her extra protection. Otherwise, she'd be easy food for lots of other animals in the area where she lives, okay? Now this type of armadillo isn't like usually the big rainforest armadillos that can be over 100 pounds. She tends to be more in the drier areas. But I don't have an armadillo that big that I can bring with me. Okay? And this is as full grown as she gets at this size. I would say about the size of a cantaloupe. Kind of looks like a cantaloupe, right? Did you ever eat that orange melon? Okay? Feels maybe like a pineapple on the outside, but minus the hard prickly parts there. Okay? And this is, like I said, part of her body. It grows with her, but she's not going to get any bigger than this. She's around 13 years old, just to give you an idea. They might live to be 15, maybe up to 20. Okay? Now, again, she would kind of walk around through that understory trying to find like ants and ant hills, maybe termites and termite mounds. Sometimes even her favorites are found underground, worms. And so she'll use her nose to, at night, right? And it's dark there in that understory, that second layer, okay? So she'll use her nose to smell for food. And when she finds it, she uses her front claws like shovels to dig into the sand there and get those bugs or worms. So she doesn't have to see them to find her food, which is amazing. Imagine if I took your dinner tonight, right? And I buried it outside in the grassy area. And you just had one chance to smell for it and dig it. We'd probably be out of luck and really hungry. But an armadillo, no problem at all, okay? Well, let's see if we can't get her to wake her up just a little bit. I won't let her walk on the table, so if you can't see her right now, don't worry. I'm going to pick her right back up. I can't let her walk on the table because guess what? She doesn't know what the edges are. So she might skedaddle right off the side there. She is made for, there you go. Good morning. It's morning for her. So good morning. Right? Now you can see the hair, the legs. The front legs are the ones that have those claws that are amazing for digging in there. And you can see her ears start to unfold there. Okay. And her leg, as she starts to wake up, her one leg usually starts to kind of shake. Don't worry, she's not scared or cold. It's just armadillos don't fly. So she's like, hey, where's the ground? Right? That's it. And armadillos don't usually go like this. This is how they walk, like that. Okay. There's an armadillo. There you go. And see how those bands, they just kind of close up a little bit, like a door hinge, and allows her to open up. There's that leg. And don't worry, she's okay. Armadillos just don't fly. Hello. There you go. Can you see those claws there? They're not sharp either. These claws are just made for digging, so they're super strong. Not good at climbing, but again, really good for digging into the ground. She could dig about 8 inches into the ground to find a worm if she needed to. That's pretty far, don't you think, for how little she is?
I saw her eyes.
All right, well, let's see here. Maybe I can get a couple more volunteers. Okay, so maybe I need somebody that has it enough. So if you're up before, put your arm down. Let's see if I can get somebody else. Okay, right here. Okay, there.
Raise your hand, hurry up.
I'm going again.
And let's see here. I have those before. How about these back there and the red? All right, good. Okay. All right, thanks, John. Here, I'll meet you here. Okay, we'll make a line, like a line. If you have a camera, you can take a picture, you know, or your phone. That's fine. Just turn off your finger. All right, you guys ready? So you can feel right back here. Remember, it's kind of bumpy, and that's just her back. All right, thanks. Is that good protection? Good job. Once you get a chance, yep, you are feeling her. You know, I don't ever touch her tummy. Okay, good. You can grab a seat. I don't feel her tummy because if I tried to touch her tummy where her skin is, you know what she would do? She'd roll up super tight and slam shut like a trap. Do I want my finger in there? No. Good. Once you get a chance, good job. You can grab a seat. That's feel like you're on, right? Great. What do you think? Would you like a pineapple?
Like a rock?
Okay, all right, so there is our armadillo. Can you think of an animal that might be strong enough that's found in South America that can break through these bony plates? A large cat. Does anybody watch Wildcrafts?
Yes. I want her cat.
Anybody remember? Because think about it, it can't be a tiger, because tigers are found where?
I can do it.
Yeah, Asia. Can't find them here. Where do you think? Okay. Who knows? Who has a good guess? Give a good guess?
Zeus.
Well, you're right about zoos. But what cat, what large cat will be found when this one is?
Rainforest.
Yes, but what large cat? You know? A jaguar, that's it, yeah. So a jaguar is really the only animal that's a good predator of the armadillos, right? Because that's how good these bony plates work, as protection. You divided her, now you hold her up. She's probably ready to wake up in a little bit here now. Because they sleep about 16 hours a day. What did she sleep? Oh, sure, this is just her wood chips. You know, we have different bedding that we carry them in. You know, like you have a dog kennel and you might put like some wood chips down. And we put wood chips down as we go with them. And so she makes a little nest in there, but when she curls herself up, they just kind of get caught little pockets there. Yeah, there we go. And they would do that in the wild. They'll take like leaves and grasses, make a little nest, and then bury themselves in that nest. So they look like just a rock, kind of fold it up and kind of there. Yeah. All right, now she's really awake. Like I said, they sleep a lot during the day, but up at night. Okay. There's our armadillo that lives. All right. We're going to take it up a little bit. This animal kind of shares that same layer a little bit in the rainforest. And there are these animals throughout South America. And now you can even find them here where we live in the United States. But originally, This animal is made for the tropics. And if you look at it closely, you'll notice its ears and its tail don't have any hair on them. Sometimes we have them in our neighborhoods and we consider them as pests, but actually it's kind of neat because originally these guys are from South America and have naturally kind of migrated northward on their own. What I'm actually going to do for her is I'm going to leave her on the table. I like to let her just walk on the table. She's about the size of a cat, so really easily for all of us to see. And I'm going to put out some food for her. She's an omnivore. So an omnivore likes to eat what? Yes, and she eats everything. Living things, dead things, gross things. I mean, mice, snakes, bugs, it doesn't matter. She's not picky. But I'll put out some not so gross things. So we've got some cantaloupe here, some fruit. I've got a thawed-out cricket. You guys like to eat crickets? Some dog food here, mixed in with some mealworms and some mixed vegetables. Even some hard-boiled egg. And you know what? She'd be eating egg in the wild too. Like I said, anything she can find. Sometimes we can get into her garbage cans too. Okay? All right. I think she's awake. And like I said, you'll recognize her. But they are a tropical animal, and they're made for living up in the trees when they're younger. So what I'm going to do is walk out onto the table all by herself. Hold on to her voices. And the more quiet we are, the quicker she'll come out. And then I'll just let her walk on the table. She didn't have to see me put any of this food out. She can just smell it. That's how amazing her sense of smell is. So you guys recognized her. I heard that, right? What is she called?
Can we go over there?
Yes.
It's right there.
So she will stay on the table here, but in case I have to help her, I'll keep a glove handy for her. She does know edges because opossums are made for living up in the trees, and they know what the edges of a table would be here too. Okay, so she'll come right up to it, but I've got the food on the carpet there. Okay, so sometimes opossums, a lot of time, like in South America, that still are found there, even in Australian forests, they're called possums, and they're a lot smaller. They look more like a gerbil, right? So she's a little bit larger one. But they are made now, you can find them in all types of habitats. You know, Minnesota, Wisconsin, all the way up to Canada, where like maybe 20 years ago you have been able to find them there. Like I said originally, these guys are from South America. But because they're so adaptable, they've expanded their range, and you can find them here. Because they eat just about everything. They've got 50 amazing teeth in their mouth to grab hold of things. They're pretty sharp and pretty strong. And like I said, they can be on the floor, like the ground level, and climb up. So you'll notice that she's walking around. She's got some pretty cool feet there. She has this many toes. How many is that? She has this special toe. Not everybody has this. What is this? Thumb. Yeah. Not all animals have thumbs like this. Like, move your thumb around. An opposable thumb, right? Helps you grip and hold on to things. She has one of those too. So it helps make her a great climber and some pretty strong claws for climbing. At the end here, she has this amazing tail, and this tail is a grasping tail. So think of it as instead of having 4 legs, she has 5. She's got that extra arm, so she's climbing up in the tree. This kind of hangs behind her and wraps around a tree branch. So if she happens to fall, guess what? She doesn't tumble to the ground. She can hang on for a little bit of time, like that tail as a seatbelt for climbing in the tree there. Oh, she really liked that. We'll give her some more treats here. She went kind of fast, so we'll put some more out here on the table. Got to save a little bit for later there for you, friends. Okay? Look at how she uses that nose to explore though, right? Very important for her. Again, where she would be, you know, she's here where we live in the United States. She's still just as active at nighttime in the darkness, even if she's in an open area. So you'll notice her eyes are a little bit smaller because that's not an important sense for her to see. Her best senses are, if you look, those ears there and that nose. Now remember how I said this animal is made for the tropics? Really wasn't made for living here, but still can be found here. And that's why in the winter, one of the things they have to worry about are these ears that have no covering on them, or the tail. Do you guys know why you have to wear like hats and gloves and stuff in the winter time? Protect your skin. What happens if you don't protect it? What can happen? Yeah. And so occasionally you'll see opossums that have frostbite because again, they're not naturally meant for here, so they don't have that built-in winter protection. but they've moved in on their own. So it's just nature's way of dealing with it. Okay. All right, I'll take some questions about the opossum. Yes?
Did you know that the possum when you grab onto a possum's tail, it has an ability called alligator mouth?
The alligator, oh, like with the mouth itself?
Yeah.
No, I know that they have a really, you know, it does, you can't tell here, they have a really big mouth. I mean, her mouth could open up to be about this big. So one of the things they'll do for their protection is if something comes in like their territory, you know, they're really shy critters, but they'll open up their mouth and they'll growl. And they've got 50 teeth. That's a lot of teeth for a land mammal, even of that size, you know? 50 sharp teeth. And so growling like that can be quite startling as a way to protect themselves. Do you know another way that they protect themselves? With those claws? Anybody ever heard playing possum? Yeah? And that's where these guys, they get so scared, their heart starts to go really fast. And then they fall over on their back, hands off the table just in case, guys, thank you. And their tongue might hang out, they might let out a stinky smell, then it looks like what happened. Yeah. But really, they're just in shock. They got so scared, their body's frozen like freeze tag. And they're alive and they're awake, but they can't move. But it's one of the ways that they protect themselves and save themselves. Because a lot of times animals lose interest and leave them alone. And would you want to eat something before you killed it? No, it looked like it just died right in front of them. It can last minutes or even hours. And then as their body starts to kind of relax, come back down again, then they'll snap out of it. But it's a really good way for them to save their lives. I've never seen it happen with ours because we wouldn't be doing our job right if it did. We want ours to feel comfortable, and that's why you can see we keep her happy on the table here eating some of that food there. All right, Tracy, she'll go back in her travel crate as easily. Did you have another question, friend?
No, I just wanted to touch the possum.
You know, I know, right? It's tempting, but she's one without my gloves I don't even touch because of those super sharp teeth. You know, I know it might look like sometimes these animals might be my pets, but I've been trained on how to handle them and work with them, and so they don't like to be held or cuddled, some of them, and this is one of them. So she tolerates me, and I try not to even handle her if I don't need to, so I just kind of use the crate, and she has been crate trained to kind of come in and come out. And I'll tell you what, she doesn't have the softest fur out there, so you're not missing anything by this. You know, I would say like a cat is much softer than hers. She doesn't have a very thick fur. Yeah, she just smell it, you know, realize it's hers, and we'll help her open up that door again. They don't have the best eyesight, like we're kind of talking about. This one, it will be 2 years old next April, and that's actually a really old opossum. They just don't live very long, you know? So a lot of you are older than her, right? But she's an adult at this age. She was an adult by the time she was 9 months old, just to give you an idea for them. You know what else is cool about an opossum? Do you know who they're related to? Wallabies, kangaroos. What do they have that not all the mammals have? You know? A pouch, yeah. And so she has a pouch. Her pouch is empty, but she has a pouch that kind of is vertical, and she can control with her muscles on her tummy there. And that's where their babies grow, inside there. So when an opossum is born, they're only about the size of a Tic Tac, or like a Rice Krispie. They're that tiny. Their hair hasn't grown in, their back legs haven't even quite grown in, but they crawl into their mom's pouch, drink milk, and stay there for about 2 months to grow. And then their eyes start to open up, their body fully develops, and then at about 2 months of age, then they climb onto their mom's back, hold on with those cool 5 fingers there, and take field trips there to learn how to be an opossum. And that's how they kind of grow. So that's something cool about an opossum. All right, well, I think she's kind of having a little bit too much fun there smelling on the table. So I'm going to put a couple of pieces of food in there. And when she smells them, then she'll probably skedaddle right on into there. There you go. So that's how you work with an animal that you don't usually like to touch or pick up. But I have special gloves if I need to do that, I can. And sometimes you need a little patience. But I'm sure y'all know that, right? That makes good. There you go. Perfect. And yeah, her tail will stick out a little bit there. So we get her to kind of curl it. All right. So this one will share that understory area, and maybe you can climb up into the next layer. The next layer in that rainforest, that third layer, remember we're building those layers up, is the canopy. So the canopy is that part, when you think of a rainforest, where all the branches come out, and where you're going to find all the fruit growing, all the leaves, And where most of the animals live are up in that canopy area. And that's where you're gonna find this next animal. In fact, this next animal doesn't usually come down to the understory or even to the forest floor because it can get everything it needs up in that canopy. Now the canopy has leaves that are a little bit smaller now, more normal sized leaves like ours here. The canopy has sunlight. So there's light and dark in the canopy layer. This is the one that blocks out all the water, all the sun, all the air movement, okay? And our next animal lives in the canopy. Grab a seat though, guys. In the Solomon Islands. So the Solomon Islands are tropical rainforests. In the Solomon Islands, it's a chain of islands in the South Pacific Ocean. Who's heard of the Pacific Ocean? Okay, so they get the South Pacific Ocean by Australia. So remember, we're by the equator, right? Near Australia is where you find the Solomon Islands, and this is called the Solomon Islands skink. S-K-I-N-K skink, okay? Just like we have skinks here in Wisconsin, ours are about like what, this long, okay, and about this big around, so a lot tinier. This is a giant lizard. Now this skink doesn't jump, doesn't fly, so it's gonna stay right here on the branch, because this is what they do. They stay up in the canopy there. They're made for climbing those branches. They're not jumpers. And just like our friend there, it has that cool grasping tail, that prehensile tail. So sometimes they're called monkey tail skinks too, but they don't swing for boats. They're just there as their protection to help hold on. So living in the canopy, these guys have a couple of cool things to notice about them. All Solomon Island skinks are green in color to help them blend in with the leaves in the canopy there. But they don't change color, but they'll come in a variety of colors. So this one will always look like this. He's kind of got a mixture of dark greens. Some Solomon Island skinks, like his sister, is more like a mint green color. So like a green in a color crayon pack, right? They come in different green colors, right? But not all of them will change. These guys will stay their colors that they particularly are. As I come around with him, look, he even has green eyes to match those green scales on his body. These green scales are nice and tough. Not only do they help him to hide and seek and camouflage, but they also help him to not worry about getting sunburned. When the rain comes down, he doesn't soak up all that water like a sponge. These scales are like a built-in raincoat for our Solomon Island skink that lives there, okay? Also, for living in the trees, like skinks, they have these long toes, and he has 5 toes just like that opossum. So those long toes help him to get a good grip to hold onto the tree branch, right? And at the end of each of these toes, they have these super sharp claws to dig into the tree so it doesn't go whoosh and slide right down. You know, the canopy is like about 150 feet in the air. 120, 150 feet in the air is where you're finding the canopy in the rainforest. So if he falls out of that tree, is that good or bad? Pretty bad, right? So that's why those claws to hold on, helping to dig in, are really important. And the importance of that super cool grasping tail. So if he does happen to slip, he'll hold on for a little bit of time there, okay? Now living in the canopy, he's got to be able to find his food there. His shelter would be just this, a crookedy tree branch. Now remember, the tree branches that are living would have leaves coming out, so he'd hide and seek really well. But he also needs to find food. What might be food for this skink up in the trees? What do you think? Good guess. He has lots of sharp teeth, but he doesn't eat animals. He is a plant eater. He likes to eat leaves. Do you guys like to eat salads? Yeah, he is a salad eater. He will eat vines and the leaves that grow there. But because he's in the tropical rainforest, the leaves that grow there are a little bit tougher and waxier. You know how colored crayons feel waxy when you touch them, right? That's what the leaves are like. That wax helps protect the leaves from getting moldy because there's so much rain in that rainforest. But his teeth are able to crunch through those waxy leaves there. So that's why he has sharp teeth, even though he's completely a plant eater, an herbivore, for those of you who know what that is. All right, I'll take a couple of questions about our Solomon Island skink. Some of you might be wondering about him that I might want to share. Yeah.
Can they swim?
You know, I don't think these guys are swimmers. You know, they live where it's tropical and warm, but up in the trees, so they're not really made for swimming at all. Yeah. Okay. Did you have a question?
Yes.
What is it?
What does its tongue help it do?
Oh, did you notice that tongue?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like a snake's.
Exactly. His tongue works just like a snake's tongue. He tastes the air. He has nostrils, right? You have nostrils. Breathe in. No. Breathe. Can you smell with those nostrils? Somebody's baking something that smells good. You can smell it, right? Okay. Same idea for these guys. They can smell. But that tongue helps them even get a better idea of what's going on in their neighborhood. So they stick out their tongue, they taste the air particles, and they can figure out, hey, what is this? Is this part of my home, my habitat? Is there food here? Or is there something that could be different in danger? I better stay hidden. And that's how like a snake's tongue works. And that's how they're able to find their food too, is using that tongue. So that tongue is really important for them. Sir, did you have a question?
That's what it was.
Oh, is that what it was? Nice. All right. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to put him away, and maybe at the end I'll bring him back out, and we can all feel him on our way out. Sound good? Did you have a question?
He wants to know if it changes colors.
Yeah, he doesn't. Some lizards do. He stays this color all the time. That's his special great color. Okay. All right. Yes?
Skinks here lose their tails.
Yes.
This.
You're right, and this one doesn't. So even though he belongs to that group of skinks, he doesn't lose his tail because it's when his bones going down there and it starts grasping prehensile tail, his won't come up. It's just like having like a fifth arm for labor. Yeah, like blue-tongued skinks from Australia, they'll lose their tail too. But this is one of those that kind of breaks that rule and doesn't lose their tail. All right, I'll just put him back in his travel cooler. That's how I get him back and forth from the zoo to the different places. Okay, you guys. Last layer of the rainforest, and this is at number 4 layer, right? The first layer was a forest floor, then the understory, then the canopy, 120, 150 feet up in the air. Our last layer are just the few trees that stand up above the canopy, and they are past that, like 200 feet in the air. 200 feet, that's like putting quite a few school buses together, right? And that is only for like birds, bats, and butterflies. Maybe a few monkeys might make it up into that area. The animals that live in the canopy, that tallest area, they have to be able to be there to look out. They're like the lookout spot, so that it's easy for them to tell if danger is coming up from the layers below. Like maybe a larger snake, okay, or another bird. So the canopy up there is really just for some of those tougher animals that can kind of get up there. The leaves on the plants are really small because they get the sun all year long, every day. And this animal that we're going to meet, I gave you a hint earlier, is one that you can find right here in Wisconsin, but also is found in tropical rainforests and lots of different habitats in the world, except for like Antarctica and mountains. See if you recognize him. And he would be found in that emergent layer, that last 4th layer. Now once I get him out, everybody's been really quiet today. He's really talkative. He likes to move around a lot. Is that okay? All right. So remember, he's got to fall into that group. Bird, bat, or butterfly. All right, here we go. Here he comes. Recognize this one? Yeah. Close. You're in the same group. Okay, like a cousin to a hawk. You got it. A peregrine falcon. So this is our peregrine falcon. Okay. Belongs to groups like hawks, eagles, owls, vultures, osprey. They're all in that group we call. Oh, and he's just stretching out. Like raptors. So he has bracelets on, like I have bracelets. And then they're connected to this other one that I'm holding on to. So he's not going to go anywhere, but he's going to move around a lot. He just doesn't like to sit still. It's just him in general. This kind of bird in nature is kind of more high-strung anyways. Okay. But this is a peregrine falcon. And so these guys will be way up high. I mean, even here, you would find them like right along rivers like this, where you've got rocky bluffs, right? So it's a nice high lookout spot. So in the tropics, you'll find them in trees, probably, up in that emergent layer. But here in like Wisconsin or like Minnesota or throughout most of the U.S., you're going to look for places along waterways. We have those rocky bluffs where they have that high lookout spot. And then these guys are made for flying. They are a relatively small bird, but for their size, they have really long wings. for how small he is. He probably doesn't weigh much more than like a bottle of water, just to give you an idea. So like 1 pound, that's not very heavy at all, right? Okay. But he's got really tight feathers, so he's not fluffy. He's got good eyesight for seeing very well and diving down and hunting to go after his food. Does anybody know what peregrine falcons specialize in eating? You know, some animals like to eat certain things. He has something he specializes in. Can you think of a smaller bird that might be found in the water too?
Mice.
You know, they'll go after mice sometimes. Yeah. Any other birds that like to spend a lot of time on water? Have big, large beaks. People sometimes can hunt them. Yeah, I heard it. Ducks. These guys are sometimes called duck eyes, you know, and stuff like that. They will actually go after birds. That's what they kind of specialize in. So that's why you find them near water, because that's where you find a lot of times ducks. So they'll wait for that animal to take off of the water, and then these guys will dive down, and you know what they're famous for? How fast they can dive down. He's just settling in. That's a good sign when he does that, fluffing up his feathers. But they'll dive down at speeds they can of up to 200 miles an hour. Head first, closing off their nose, but their eyes open so they can zero in exactly where they need to go. Last minute, they stick out their foot and kind of punch that bird out of the air. And as that bird starts to fall down, they'll swing back around and grab it with their feet, those amazing talons, just like an eagle, right? And then grab hold of it and fly back up to that rocky kind of cliff there. So they're quite amazing hunters. And like I said, you can find them throughout all areas of the world, even in those tropical rainforests, reserved in that emergent layer with other birds, bats, and butterflies.
Is he a baby?
You know, he's not. He's fully grown. He is around 10 years old. So he's not going to get any bigger. He's considered an older peregrine falcon. But the males, the boys, they just don't get as big as the females. So he's about a third the size of what a female would be when you think of him. But this is a full-grown peregrine falcon, and they'll all look like this, male or females. Just females tend to be bigger than women. Any other questions? He's actually doing good. And with him, I don't move around too much because otherwise he's like, hey, what's going on? You know, he would sit on top. They're very kind of like buoyant. Like yes, they can float on the water, but he's not a good like diving in and swimming underwater type bird. Yeah. Any other questions about a peregrine falcon? Anybody ever seen one this close before? Yeah. And then you can see those cool colors. It's kind of like, if you look closely, it's football season. It looks like he's kind of wearing a football helmet with the pattern on his feathers there, the dark feathers that go over his head and then kind of down there, right? And this is the natural color of the peregrine falcon. So they've got this dark kind of steely grayish blue on the back side, and then that buff lighter side on the front there. And now it's time to stretch. All right, so I will put him back in his travel crate, and amazing like that, he will just quiet down. That's just like I said, it's kind of called quiet spots, just like you might have some of our own. It's called quiet spots. Well, that was our last animal because we made it through all of our 4 layers. I just happened to bring 2 that kind of stay in the understory area. But if you want, I'll take out that skink, and you can feel that skink on your way out. And I also brought a peregrine falcon feather so that you can feel that, because it's not something we can normally get a chance to feel. And they're really kind of peaceful feeling feathers. If you have a question, then you can ask me that on your way out. Otherwise, make sure you wash your hands with soap and water if you touch anything or with somebody that touched you earlier. Okay? Thanks for coming tonight, folks.
Dude, what's one of you? I want to put
Okay, so I'll kind of come by the door, Amy. I think that might be the easiest, and try to catch you on your way out. Does that sound like a good plan? Thank you.